Good morning, students. The short story A Rose for Emily by William Faulkner is prescribed for the students of BA Part 2 English Literature, Paper 2, that is English Prose and Fiction. Before we look at the story, first a quick look at the brief biography of William Faulkner. William Faulkner, whose dates are 1897 to 1962, who came from an old Southern family, grew up in Oxford, Mississippi. In other words, Faulkner was an American. He joined the Canadian and later the British Royal Air Force during the First World War, studied for a while at the University of Mississippi, and temporarily worked for a New York bookstore and a New Orleans newspaper. Except for some trips to Europe and Asia, and a few brief stays in Hollywood as a scriptwriter, he worked on his novels and short stories on a farm in Oxford. In an attempt to create a saga means a long story, usually about a family, every detail is given from generation to generation of his own. Faulkner has invented a host of characters typical of the historical growth and subsequent decadence of the South. The human drama in Faulkner's novels is then built on the model of the actual historical drama, extending over almost a century and a half. Each story and each novel contributes to the construction of a whole, which is the imaginary Yoknapatwa County and its inhabitants. There is no such place. County means district. So there is no such district in America, but it is imaginary. यानी कि उन्होंने काल्पनिक ये एक जगह बनाई है. जिस तरीके से मालगुड़ी कस्बे को या गांव को आर के लक्ष्मण ने आर के नारायण, जो आर के लक्ष्मण के ब्रदर थे, उन्होंने क्रिएट किया. The theme is the decay of the Old South, as represented by the Sartoris and Compson families, and the emergence of ruthless and brash newcomers, the Snopeses. Now, एक बात बता दें बच्चों, जिन वर्ड्स के मीनिंग्स आपको नहीं आ रहे हैं, आप उनके डिक्शनरी मीनिंग्स ढूंढ लीजिएगा. लेकिन वर्ड्स लाइक सार्टोरीज, कॉम्सन, स्नॉप्सीज, ये प्रॉपर नाउन्स हैं. ये उन फैमिलीज़ के नाम हैं जो साउथ अमेरिका में, रादर हम ये कहें यूएसए के सदर्न स्टेट्स के जो धनवान लोग थे, स्पेशली जिनके शुगर केन यानी कि गन्ना या कॉटन के खेत हैं, बागान हैं जिनको प्लांटेशंस कहते हैं, या कॉफ़ी प्लांटेशंस हैं. उन बहुत बड़े बड़े हज़ारों हेक्टर्स की ज़मीन है. उन धनवान फैमिलीज़ के ये नाम हैं. Theme and technique, the distortion of time through the use of the inner monologue, are fused perfectly, particularly successfully in The Sound and the Fury of 1929. The downfall of the Compson family seen through the minds of several characters. The novel Sanctuary, published 1931, is about the degeneration of Temple Drake, a young girl from a distinguished Southern family. Its sequel, Requiem for a Nun, 1951, written partly as a drama, centered on the courtroom trial of a Negro woman who had once been a party to Temple Drake's debauchery. In Light in August 1932, Prejudice is shown to be most destructive when it is internalized, as in Joe Christmas, who believes, though there is no proof of it, that one of his parents was a Negro. The theme of racial prejudice is brought up again in Absalom Absalom of 1936, in which a young man is rejected by his father and brother because of his mixed blood. Mixed blood means one of the parents was a black, a Negro, and the other was a white. Faulkner's most outspoken moral evaluation of the relationship and the problems between Negroes and whites is to be found in Intruder in the Dust, published 1948. In 1940, Faulkner published the first volume of Snopes trilogy. A trilogy means a set of 3 novels or books, one following the other, which are written in sequence. The Hamlet to be followed by 2 volumes, that is The Town 1957 and The Mansion 1959. All of them tracing the rise of the insidious Snopes family to positions of power and wealth in the community. The Rivers, his last and most humorous work, with great many similarities to Mark Twain's Huckleberry Finn, appeared in 1962, the year of Faulkner's death. From Nobel Lectures, Literature 1901 to 1967, editors Horst Friends, Elsevier Publishing Company, Amsterdam 1969. I'm sorry, you can delete these last 2 lines. This autobiography or biography was written at the time of the award and first published in the book series Les Prix Nobel. It was later edited and republished in Nobel Lectures. William Faulkner died on July 6th, 1962. So this is a very brief look up at the biography of William Faulkner. We will continue with an understanding and analysis of the short story A Rose for Emily, written by William Faulkner. In continuation, I have given you the text of the short story, Text of A Rose for Emily by William Faulkner. You can read through the short story. I will not read through it for you. You do it at your leisure. And let us look at the summary and analysis of the story instead. A Rose for Emily by William Faulkner. A Rose for Emily is a short story by William Faulkner that was first published in 1930. The plot overview. The story is divided into 5 sections. In section 1, the narrator recalls the time of Emily Grierson's death and how the entire town attended her funeral in her home, which no stranger had entered for more than 10 years. In a once elegant upscale neighborhood, Emily's house is the last vestige of the grandeur of a lost era. Last vestige means last piece, the last remaining symbol of a lost time. Colonel Sartoris, the town's previous mayor, had suspended Emily's tax responsibilities to the town after her father's death, justifying the action by claiming that Mr. Grierson had once lent the community a significant sum. Now, it so happened that when Emily lost her father, Emily Grierson's father had died. So the mayor of the city then had asked Miss Emily not to pay any tax. As new town leaders take over, they make unsuccessful attempts to get Emily to resume payments. When members of the board of aldermen pay her a visit in the dusty and antiquated parlor, antiquated means old, and parlor means a drawing room where you welcome guests. Emily reasserts the fact that she is not required to pay taxes in Jefferson. Jefferson is the town where the story takes place, and that the officials should talk to Colonel Sartoris about the matter. However, at that point, he has been dead for almost a decade. She asks her servant, Toby, to show the men out. In section 2, the narrator describes a time 30 years earlier when Emily resists another official inquiry on behalf of the town leaders. When the townspeople detect a powerful odor, means bad smell, coming from her property. Her father had just died. This was 30 years ago. And Emily has been abandoned by the man whom the townsfolk believed Emily was to marry. As complaints mount, Judge Stevens, the mayor at the time, decides to have lime sprinkled along the foundation of the Grierson home in the middle of the night. यानी कि घर से एमिली के घर से बहुत बदबू आती है, पड़ोसी शिकायत करते हैं और फिर एक जज इंटरवीन करते हैं और वहाँ की म्यूनिसिपल ऑफिसर्स को कहा जाता है, आदेश दिए जाते हैं कि वो रात के समय जाकर उनके घर की नींव में लाइम डालें, यानी कि चूना डालें, ताकि जो गंध आ रही है, जो बदबू आ रही है, वो चली जाए. अब ये किस चीज़ की गंध है, क्यों आ रही है, अभी तक हमको कुछ नहीं पता. Everything about Emily Grierson is mysterious. Within a couple of weeks, the odor subsides, but the townspeople begin to pity the increasingly reclusive Emily. एमिली किसी से मिलती नहीं है. रेक्लूसिव वो पर्सन होता है जो समाज में किसी से मेल जोल नहीं रखता, किसी कहीं आता जाता नहीं है, बल्कि ये कहें कि घर से बाहर तक नहीं निकलता. एमिली भी ऐसी ही हो गई थी. रिमेंबरिंग हाउ हर ग्रेट आंट हैड सकम्ड टू इंसैनिटी, उनको याद आता है कि कैसे एमिली की फादर की बुआ या दादी या कोई भी उनको पागलपन हो गया था. The townspeople have always believed that the Griersons thought too highly of themselves, with Emily's father driving off the many suitors deemed not good enough to marry his daughter. जब एमिली यंग थी एंड उनके फादर भी जीवित थे, तो कई आदमी एमिली का हाथ मांगने के लिए आए थे, शादी के का प्रस्ताव लेकर आए थे, लेकिन हर एक को उनके फादर ने भगा दिया था, रिजेक्ट कर दिया था, ये कहते हुए कि कोई भी मेरी बेटी के लायक नहीं है. विथ नो ऑफर ऑफ मैरिज इन साइट, एमिली इज़ स्टिल सिंगल बाय द टाइम शी टर्न्स 30 साल की हो गई हैं, लेकिन कोई भी उनसे विवाह करने के लिए राजी नहीं हुआ है अब. द डे आफ्टर मिस्टर ग्रायरसन्स डेथ, the women of the town call on Emily to offer their condolences. एमिली के फादर की डेथ के बाद जो शहर की महिलाएं होती हैं वो दुख बांटने के लिए उनके घर आती हैं. मीटिंग विद देम एट द डोर, एमिली स्टेट्स दैट हर फादर इज़ नॉट डेड, अ शराज दैट शी कीप्स अप फॉर 3 days. वो दरवाज़े पे ही उन औरतों को रोक देती है, ये कह के कि मेरे फादर की डेथ नहीं हुई है, और यही बात वो 3 दिन तक नाटक चलता है. शी फाइनली टर्न्स हर फादर्स बॉडी ओवर फॉर बरियल. 3 दिन के बाद बड़ी मुश्किल से एमिली अपने फादर की बॉडी दफनाने के लिए ले जाने की अनुमति देती हैं. इन सेक्शन 3, द नरेटर डिस्क्राइब्स अ लॉन्ग इलनेस that Emily suffers after this incident. The summer after her father's death, the town contracts workers to pave the sidewalks, and a construction company under the direction of northerner Homer Barron is awarded the job. अब एक लंबी बीमारी के बाद शहर में रोड के किनारे चलने का रास्ता बनाने के लिए कॉन्ट्रैक्ट दिया जाता है, और उस कंपनी, कॉन्ट्रैक्टिंग कंपनी का जो एक तरीके से मैनेजर होता है वो होमर बैरन नाम का एक आदमी होता है. Homer soon becomes a popular figure in town and is seen taking Emily on buggy rides on Sunday afternoons, which scandalizes the town and increases the condescension and pity they have for Emily. अब जल्दी ही एमिली और होमर दोस्त बन जाते हैं. वो उनको अपनी घोड़ा गाड़ी में घुमाने लेके जाते हैं. ये देखकर शहर की महिलाएं लोग बातें बनाने लगते हैं. They feel that she is forgetting her family pride and becoming involved with a man beneath her station. असल में होमर बैरन एंड एमिली का लव अफेयर शुरू हो जाता है. As the affair continues and Emily's reputation is further compromised, she goes to the drugstore to purchase arsenic. Arsenic एक तरह का a powerful poison, एक महंगा और बहुत घातक जहर है. She is required by law to reveal how she will use the arsenic. उन्हें बताना चाहिए दुकानदार को कि वो इस जहर का क्या इस्तेमाल करेंगी. She offers no explanation and the package arrives at her house labeled for rats. वो कोई उसका जवाब नहीं देती है और उसके ऊपर ये लिखा हुआ आता है, उनके घर पे जहर भिजवा दिया जाता है जिस पे लिखा है चूहों को मारने के लिए. In section 4, the narrator describes the fear that some of the townspeople have that Emily will use the poison to kill herself. Her potential marriage to Homer seems increasingly unlikely, despite their continued Sunday ritual. The more outraged women of the town insist that the Baptist minister talk with Emily. After his visit, he never speaks of what happened and swears that he will never go back. जो चर्च के प्रीस्ट होते हैं उनसे लोग कहते हैं कि आप जाकर उनसे बात करो. वो जाते भी हैं लेकिन वो खाली हाथ लौट आते हैं. सो द मिनिस्टर्स वाइफ राइट्स टू एमिलीज टू कज़न्स इन एलाबामा. एलाबामा उस प्रदेश का एक और शहर है. एमिली के कुछ रिलेटिव्स वहाँ रहते हैं, उनको चिट्ठी लिखी जाती है. हु अराइव फॉर एन एक्सटेंडेड स्टे. वो कुछ टाइम के लिए उनके पास रहने आती हैं. Because Emily's orders a silver toilet set monogrammed with Homer's initials, talk of the couple's marriage resumes. Homer, absent from town, is believed to be preparing for Emily's move to the north or avoiding Emily's intrusive relatives. After the cousin's departure, Homer enters the Grierson home one evening and then is never seen again. Holed up in the house, एमिली ग्रोज प्लम्प एंड ग्रे. घर में रहती हैं, मोटी हो जाती हैं, स्किन का कलर बीमारों जैसा होने लगा है. डिस्पाइट द ओकेजनल लेसन शी गिव्स इन चाइना पेंटिंग, हर डोर रिमेन्स क्लोज्ड टू आउटसाइडर्स. इन वॉट बिकम्स एन एनुअल रिचुअल, एमिली रिफ्यूज़ टू एक्नॉलेज द टैक्स बिल. हर साल टैक्स का स्टेटमेंट आता है उनके पास, लेकिन वो न तो टैक्स जमा कराती हैं ना उसका जवाब देती हैं. शी इवेंचुअली क्लोजेज अप द टॉप फ्लोर ऑफ द हाउस. एक्सेप्ट फॉर द ओकेजनल ग्लिम्स ऑफ हर इन द विंडो, नथिंग इज हर्ड फ्रॉम हर until her death at the age of 74. Only the servant is seen going in and out of the house. In section 5, the narrator describes what happens after Emily dies. Emily's body is laid out in the parlor, and the women, town elders, and two cousins attend the service. After some time has passed, the door to a sealed upstairs room that had not opened in 40 years is seen broken down by the townspeople. उस मकान में, एमिली के मकान में ऊपर एक दरवाज़ा था, उसको तोड़कर खोला जाता है और वो कमरा 40 साल से बंद पड़ा था. The room is frozen in time with the items for an upcoming wedding and a man's suit laid out. उसमें कपड़े रखे हुए हैं जैसे कोई विवाह होने वाला हो. Homer Baron's body is stretched on the bed as well in an advanced state of decay. Homer Baron का मृत शरीर बेड पे रखा हुआ है. The onlookers then notice the indentation of a head in the pillow beside Homer's body and a long strand of Emily's grey hair on the pillow. लोग देखते हैं कि जो तकिया है पास में, होमर की बॉडी के पास में, उस पर किसी के सर के रखने का निशान है और एक बाल मिलता है जो कि संभवतः एमिली ग्रायरसन का था. Now a look at the summary of the short story. Faulkner and the Southern Gothic. Now the United States of America is divided into states. और जो दक्षिण USA के जो स्टेट्स हैं, जो प्रदेश हैं, उनका लाइफस्टाइल और वहाँ के रहने वाले लोगों की जो जीवन शैली है वो नॉर्दर्न स्टेट्स से बिल्कुल भिन्न है या अलग है. शायद इसलिए कि सदर्न स्टेट्स में बहुत धनवान लोग रहते हैं जिनके पास बहुत बड़ी बड़ी ज़मीनें, हज़ारों हेक्टेयर्स की ज़मीनें हैं जिन पर वो शुगर केन यानी कि गन्ना, कॉटन, रुई या कॉफ़ी का प्लांटेशंस हैं. तो सदर्न गॉथिक यानी कि उस क्षेत्र का जो तरीका है उसके बारे में हम बात करेंगे. Southern Gothic is a literary tradition that came into its own in the early 20th century. It is rooted in the Gothic style. Gothic style क्या होता है वो आपको बाद में बता देंगे. Which had been popular in European literature for many centuries. Gothic writers concocted wild, frightening scenarios in which mysterious secrets, supernatural occurrences, and characters' extreme duress conspired to create a breathless reading experience. Gothic style focused on the morbid and grotesque, and the genre often featured certain set pieces and characters. Drafty castles laced with cobwebs, secret passages, and frightened, wide-eyed heroines whose innocence does not go untouched. Although they borrow the essential ingredients of the Gothic, writers of Southern Gothic fiction were not interested in integrating elements of the sensational solely for the sake of creating suspense or titillation. Writers such as Flannery O'Connor, Tennessee Williams, Truman Capote, Harper Lee, Eudora Welty, Erskine Caldwell, and Carson McCullers were drawn to the elements of Gothicism for what they revealed about human psychology and the dark underlying motives that were pushed to the fringes of society. यानी कि उस दौर का जो लेखन था उसमें सब कुछ बहुत भयावह था, डराने वाला था. Southern Gothic writers were interested in exploring the extreme antisocial behaviors that were often a reaction against a confining code of social conduct. Southern Gothic often hinged on the belief that daily life and the refined surface of the social order were fragile and illusory, disguising disturbing realities or twisted psyches. कुछ भी नॉर्मल नहीं लेखक लिखते थे उस ज़माने में, उस दौर के लेखक. सोच में विकृति थी, ट्विस्टेड साइकीज जिसको कहते हैं, और जो वास्तविकता का वो जो प्रदर्शन करते थे उसमें भी एक डिस्टर्बिंगनेस रहती थी, यानी कि विचलित करने वाली बातें थी. Faulkner, with his dense and multi-layered prose, traditionally stands outside this group of practitioners. However, यानी कि Faulkner इस प्रकार का लेखन कम लिखते थे, लेकिन A Rose for Emily reveals the influence that Southern Gothic had on his writing. इस कहानी में Southern Gothic का प्रभाव स्पष्ट तरीके से दिखाई दे रहा है. कहानी में एक अजीब सा एटमॉस्फेयर क्रिएट किया गया है. एमिली ग्रायरसन का जो चरित्र है, का जो स्वभाव है, उनका जो बिहेवियर है, वो भी सहज नहीं है, नॉर्मल नहीं है, उसमें भी एक अजीब प्रकार की विकृति ही दिखाई देती है. This particular story has a moody and forbidding atmosphere. A crumbling old mansion, mansion यानी कि हवेली जो खंडित हो रही है, एंड डीके, प्यूट्रिफिकेशन एंड ग्रोटेस्करी. इन कठिन शब्दों के अर्थ आप देखेंगे. डीके यानी कि सड़न, किसी चीज़ का खराब हो जाना. प्यूट्रिफिकेशन यानी कि किसी चीज़ का सड़ना, जैसे कि कोई खाना जब दूषित खाना हो जाता है, पुराना हो जाता है, तो कैसे गंध आने लगती है, उसमें से बदबू आने लगती है. ऐसी ही गंध या बदबू उनके एमिली के घर से आती है. Faulkner's work uses the sensational elements to highlight an individual's struggle against an oppressive society that is undergoing rapid change. Another aspect of the Southern Gothic style is appropriation and transformation. Faulkner has appropriated the image of the damsel in distress and transformed it into Emily, a psychologically damaged spinster. एमिली मानसिक तौर पे विकृत व्यक्ति और महिला बन गई हैं जिनका विवाह नहीं हो पाता है. वो अविवाहित हैं, स्पिंस्टर. हर मेंटल इंस्टेबिलिटी एंड नेक्रोफिलिया हैव मेड हर एन एम्ब्लेमेटिक, यानी कि वो एक प्रतीक बन गई हैं सदर्न गॉथिक हीरोइन. टाइम एंड टेम्पोरल शिफ्ट्स. In A Rose for Emily, Faulkner does not rely on a conventional linear approach to present his characters' inner lives and motivations. यानी कि सीधी कहानी नहीं है, कभी प्रेजेंट में, कभी पास्ट में, फिर प्रेजेंट में, फिर पास्ट में चलता रहता है. Instead, he fractures, shifts and manipulates time, stretching the story out over several decades. Young Emily से 70+ साल की एमिली तक की कहानी बताई गई है. वी लर्न अबाउट एमिलीज लाइफ थ्रू अ सीरीज ऑफ फ्लैशबैक्स. हमको वो वक्त में पीछे लेके जाते हैं. द स्टोरी बिगिन्स विद अ डिस्क्रिप्शन ऑफ एमिलीज फ्यूनरल एंड देन मूव्स इनटू द नियर डिस्टेंट पास्ट. एट द एंड ऑफ द स्टोरी वी सी दैट द फ्यूनरल इज अ फ्लैशबैक इटसेल्फ, preceding the unsealing of the upstairs bedroom door. We see Emily as a young girl, attracting suitors whom her father chases off with a whip, and as an old woman when she dies at 74. As Emily's grip on reality grows more tenuous यानी कि weak over the years, the South itself experiences a great deal of change. By moving forward and backward in time, Faulkner portrays the past and the present as coexisting and is able to examine how they influence each other. He creates a complex, layered, and multidimensional world. Faulkner presents two visions of time in the story. One is based in the mathematical precision and objectivity of reality, in which time moves forward relentlessly. Relentlessly means heartlessly, किसी और की परवाह करे बगैर वक्त आगे बढ़ता है. And what is done. Only the present exists. The other vision is more subjective. Time moves forwards, but events don't stay in distant memory. Rather, memory can exist unhindered, alive and active, no matter how much time passes or how much things play or how much things change. Even if a person is physically bound to the present, the past can play a vibrant, dynamic role. Emily stays firmly planted in a subjective realm of time, where life moves on with her in it, but she stays committed regardless to the past. The narrator. The unnamed narrator of A Rose for Emily serves as the town's collective voice. Critics have debated whether it is a man or a woman. A former lover of Emily Grierson, a boy who remembers the sight of Mr. Grierson in the doorway holding the whip, or The town gossip spearheading the effort to break down the door at the end. It is possible too that the narrator is Emily's former servant Toby. He would have known her intimately, perhaps including her secret. A few aspects of the story support this theory, such as the fact that the narrator often refers to Emily as Miss Emily. जैसे कि उस ज़माने में सर्वेंट्स अपनी मालकिन को या घर की पुत्री को बोला करते थे. And provides only one descriptive detail about the Colonel Sartoris, the mayor. The fact that he enforced a law requiring that black women wear aprons in public. In any case, the narrator hides behind the collective pronoun we. By using we, the narrator can contribute what might be his or her own thoughts and opinions to all of the townspeople, turning private ideas into commonly held beliefs. The narrator deepens the mystery of who he is and how much he knows at the end of the story. When the townspeople discover Homer's body, the narrator confesses, already we knew that an upstairs bedroom had been sealed up. However, we never find out how the narrator knows about the room. More important at this point, for the first time in the story, the narrator uses the pronouns they instead of we to refer to the townspeople. First, he says, already we knew that there was one room. Then he changes to, they waited until Miss Emily was decently in the ground before they opened it. This is a significant shift. Until now, the narrator has willingly grouped himself with the rest of the townspeople, accepting the community's actions, thoughts, and speculations as his own. Here, however, the narrator distances himself from the action, as though the breaking down of the door is something he cannot bring himself to endorse. यानी कि वो इसके लिए राजी नहीं था. The shift is quick and subtle, very slight, very आप उसको पकड़ नहीं पाते हैं. And he returns to we in the passages that follow, but it gives us an important clue about the narrator's identity. Whoever he was, the narrator cared for Emily, despite her eccentricities, यानी कि उनकी पागलपन, and horrible, desperate act. In a town that treated her as an oddity and finally a horror, a kind, sympathetic gesture, even one as slight as symbolically looking away when the private door is forced open, stands out. इस सेक्शन को हम यहीं रोकते हैं. हमारा एनालिसिस एंड अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ द शॉर्ट स्टोरी कंप्लीट नहीं हुआ है. वी विल कंटिन्यू इन द नेक्स्ट सेशन.